Is Yuji Itadori a special grade? That is the question I would like to answer with this video today. After all, across Jujutsu Kaisen, there have been several points where the question has come up of if Yuji was a special grade, such as the right now, or if Yuji in chapter 214, back when he fought against Sukuna directly, even though Sukuna was in a nerfed state, was actually a special grade, with some people even questioning if Yuji earlier should be counted as a special grade now. However, I want to answer the question now on if Yuji has become a special grade with what we have been proven directly in the most recent chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen, and see how that overall affects if Yuji should be considered a special grade with the most recent feats considered, as well as how strong he has gone in comparison to his 2-on-4 self. I'm Eternal Flame, and let's get straight into the video. Now first, I do need to talk a little bit about what it means to be special grade, and talk about why the other people who are currently counted as a special grade are counted directly as a special grade. In order to be counted as a special grade sorcerer, you need to have the ability to take over a nation single-handedly on your own, with the 4 people who are considered as special grade sorcerers directly being Yuta Okotsu, Gojo Satoru, Suguru Geto, and finally Yuki Tsukumo. However, they were all chosen as special grades for entirely separate reasons, which I'm going to go over now. With Gojo being chosen as a special grade because he's Gojo. I don't think I'm going to need to go in depth with that. Y'all know how strong Gojo is. Let's just continue on and move forward. Geto's reason that he was chosen as a special grade was because of his potential ability to be able to create an army of cursed spirits, effectively turning himself into a one-man army, with even grade 3 level curses being on the level of pistols, and pistols being needed directly to take them out. So imagine an army of grade 3 level curses, which would still be a threat to the world. Stack that over how many curses they'd be able to get, and they would certainly be able to stomp over a nation's forces on their own. Yuki Tsukumo is actually the most interesting for why she's a special grade, because we don't really know why she's a special grade. While we know what Yuki's curse technique is, being Star's Rage, that's not actually the reason why she was selected as a special grade. The reason that we know that is because of the higher-ups not actually knowing what her curse technique is. So we are going to have to do some speculation on the reason why she could have become special grade, because of the simple fact that we know for a fact it's not based on her curse technique at all. But it could be based on one of two things: either her direct knowledge of the soul and how it functions, or B, her ability to have rejected Tengen and being a vessel for Tengen, and the fact that she lives on as a star plasma vessel, but she is not merged with Tengen at all. Stack that with her immense physical force, which she would still be using in fights even if they couldn't figure out her curse technique, and it would make a lot of sense why Yuki Tsukumo was chosen as a special grade directly. Furthermore, the reason Kenjaku directly believes that Yuki was chosen as a special grade was more so because of the possibility of her having an extension technique with high curse energy output as her trump card. Finally, there's Yuta Okotsu, who Yuta Okotsu was chosen to be a special grade sorcerer because of the existence of Rika Orimoto, and Rika Orimoto being able to help him in combat thanks to Rika Orimoto's immense amount of curse energy and immense amount of physical strength. Now, some of you guys might be saying this in the comment section: is it because of Yuta's ability to copy curse techniques that he's the reason that he's special grade? And the simple answer is no. While that is a very, very nice benefit and buff, at the time that Yuta Okotsu was chosen as a special grade, he hadn't actually unlocked the ability to copy curse techniques yet, and I don't see Yuta Okotsu now being selected as a special grade once again, considering the fact that Yuta Okotsu has a 5-limit timer on his copied curse techniques, and we know it's very unlikely Yuta will be able to take over a nation in 5 minutes of just copied curse techniques. So the 2 people who I believe are going to be important for understanding why I do think Yuji does count as a special grade by this point are going to be Yuki Tsukumo and Yuta Okotsu for their reasons about why they are considered special grades. But in order to make that comparison, we have to talk about how strong Yuji Itadori is now. So first, we're going to start out by talking about his physical stats, then we're going to talk about his abilities, his output, all of that good jazz, and finally we're going to answer the question on why Yuji should be special grade. Now, before we talk about current Yuji at his current level, I'm going to talk a little bit about 2-1-4 Yuji at his level, because that one is very, very important to understanding, because that's kind of the base of it all. In terms of durability, 2-1-4 Yuji is incredible. He was able to survive a punch that Sukuna straight up thought would have killed Yuji in one blow. Meanwhile, a Yuji who was extremely depressed in Shibuya and just witnessed Nobara dying was able to tank a Black Flash from Mahito. Well, not tank it, but able to live through a Black Flash and a massive beating while he was emotionally depressed. Yet he was expecting this punch to kill him, and it didn't actually kill him. In terms of strength, he should massively have surpassed himself before his 214 awakening, as Sukuna is directly surprised at where this strength came from, and in terms of speed, he is somewhat able to keep up with Maki, although not really. He is still slower than Maki, but he is still relative to Maki nonetheless. Finally, he is able to keep up with a Sukuna who is being weakened in terms of curse technique output to lower than 10% as well. Of course, he is still losing to that Sukuna, and that Sukuna straight up thinks he can still kill Yuji nonetheless, so that's not really Yuji's feat entirely, but that's still something that should be mentioned nonetheless. However, post time skips, we have been given several statements directly from Sukuna saying that his cursed energy reinforcement, especially his defenses, have leveled up. with Yuji when he first arrived to the initial battlefield, Sukuna immediately stating, yeah, not just the brat, but all of their cursed energy reinforcements have leveled up. And with him further stating this again inside of Yuta's domain expansion, that he especially admits that all of their defenses are much tighter and much more powerful than it was before. So while their defenses are especially buffed in comparison to what they were before, which is especially insane for Yuji, considering this is the same person who literally survived what should be the equivalent, if not even stronger than a Mahito Black Flash, considering the fact Sukuna fought in 214 that Yuji would have died from this punch, and now Yuji's durability is much better. Yuji's overall reinforcement levels are also just much better in general. To add even more evidence onto that, Yuji is able to live through several dismantles being launched directly at him, which is something he was not capable of before. And I know what some of you guys might be saying in the comment section right now, which is Sukuna is suppressed at that current point because Yuji had punched him, which that is true. However, he wouldn't be as suppressed in comparison to when he fought against Yuji beforehand, where he was suppressed to less than 10% of his curse technique output. Furthermore, upgrading your Curse Energy Reinforcement would overall upgrade your speed and your attack potency as well, because Curse Energy Reinforcement is what is mainly used in order to amplify the Sorcerer's attacks. Finally, in terms of speed and strength, he shows direct relativity to Yuta and Rika inside of Yuta's own domain, able to fight alongside Yuta several times, be keeping up with him relative in speed, and keeping up with Rika at several points in the fight as well, which is absolutely insane considering the fact that Rika is the main reason that Yuta is special grade, or at least considered special grade to begin with. Stack that on top of the fact that Yuta, Akotsu, and Rika both got stronger over the time skip just like everybody else, and that just makes it even more clear how absolutely insane that these guys actually are. So now Yuji has massively more powerful durability in comparison to what he had before, which his already 214 durability was already quite impressive, yet this Yuji would clown on that one in terms of durability and just about really every single stat. That is how much more powerful this Yuji is. But in terms of just physical stats, yeah, he's impressive, but that's not the only thing that Yuji has access to, as now we're going to talk about reverse curse technique. Where now, even if you were able to get past Yuji's insane levels of durability that I just spent the last bit talking about, and he's able to heal several large chunks of his body as well, which just speaks to his curse energy levels of efficiency. Like, to put this into perspective, right? Yuta inside of Sendai Colony was only able to use RCT a few times in that fight, such as using it to regenerate a hand and using it to kill the cockroach, Kararushi, but he still ended up running so low on curse energy that he needed to manifest Rika. Meanwhile, there's Yuji healing several dismantles, including a massive waffle dismantle that Sukuna had launched at him just fine, and still able to continue fighting while also using other curse techniques that he has access to, which just speaks to Yuji's high level of efficiency that he gained over the 1 month time skip in his training. So not just is Yuji able to show blatant relativity to both Yuta Akotsu and Rika Orimoto inside of Yuta's own domain, where they're able to land several hits with each other and time out each other's hits in order to effectively combo Sukuna, which really shows how relative they are, because you do need to be at least somewhat relative to someone in order to time out combos with each other inside of Jujutsu Kaisen. Even if you do damage him, he's going to likely be able to heal off that damage and just keep on fighting. After all, pain is not going to stop Yuji. Yuji can resolve himself massively and just keep on fighting. And more importantly, I do need to talk a little bit about this as well. Yuji's potential for learning RCT in this small amount of time is absolutely insane. Like, just to compare it to Higuruma couldn't learn it in a month like Yuji could. Higuruma needed to be bullied into learning RCT after failing to learn it in a month time span. He had to be bullied by Sukuna into learning RCT. Unlike Yuji, who could just do it naturally in 1 month while also learning other things like blood manipulation and whatever Kusakabe taught him and the soul stuff, which we're now going to get into blood manipulation. In the most recent chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, Yuji has recently showed off an ability that works extremely similar to that of Supernova, showing off that he has full access to blood manipulation in his own separate way, which also puts into question if the piercing blood that was fired earlier was actually Yuji's even more. Now we finally gotten confirmed that Yuji does have access to blood manipulation. It's more than likely that that piercing blood was Yuji's and not Choso's, which does make a lot of sense considering Kamo was his teacher and Kamo could teach him something that Choso couldn't. You know, both of them being blood manipulators is the only thing in their arsenal. Yeah, it was kind of obvious, but yeah. Which now opens the possibility for several things to be possible, such as Yuji having access to things like piercing blood, like we have recently been talking about if that piercing blood was his or not, flowing red scale stack, or just flowing red scale, slicing exorcism, or even his own custom blood manipulation technique variants that he invented for this very battle, such as those arms potentially being blood manipulation based variants. However, this video is not meant to be a theorizing video about what Yuji could have access to, just what we know Yuji currently has access to, and if that's enough to put him as special grade, so I won't talk about that for too long. However, Yuji showing off the ability to make his blood burst and potentially already having shown off piercing blood as well just gives Yuji so much more versatility, but because of the fact that Yuji has RCT, he has access to something that most blood manipulation users, and by most I mean Kamo Noritoshi, doesn't have access to. Which that is an unlimited source of blood. Well, not technically unlimited, but it's basically he can function like Choso does, where Choso is able to convert his own cursed energy into blood. Yuji is able to constantly heal himself and just make more and more blood for him to utilize in battle. Furthermore, there are likely other reasons why Yuji hasn't been using blood manipulation up to this point, like his soul fist requiring him to not use blood manipulation to land the punches, or it can only be working with punches and kicks up to this point, so that depends on the next chapter. But next chapter, or maybe some future chapters, I do think we're going to be able to see Yuji go wild with blood manipulation and see what this man really has access to. I do feel a bit more okay though of saying that Yuji does have access to blood manipulation, considering we never see where Choso was in the last few chapters at all, and it looks like Choso has just gone, and I don't think that Choso's just going to fire off a last piercing blood. It seems much more likely that Yuji was the one to fire off the last piercing blood, because we also see it takes a while for Kusakabe and Ino to directly catch up. However, it's still also possible that that piercing blood was Choso's. I'm just leaning much closer to it being Yuji's than Choso's. So Yuji has already shown off that he has high amounts of cursed energy, incredibly great physical stats, and a high amount of cursed energy output, which is just going to make all of his attacks hit that much better. And he doesn't suffer the normal drawbacks that blood manipulation users suffer from, which is running out of blood, because he will not be able to suffer from that because of the simple fact that he has RCT, which means he will constantly be able to keep healing and keep regenerating blood more and more, which gives him more weapons for him to use against people. Now up next is his final ability that he created, which is his soul-seizing punches. After reading Yuki Tsukumo's notes, as well as remembering several experiences directly against Mahito, he was able to create these soul-seizing punches, which is effectively redoing the experience he had directly against Mahito, where he was specifically subconsciously targeting Mahito's soul. However, instead of going for Mahito's soul, he was going for the barrier in between Megumi Fushiguro and Sukuna's soul directly. Furthermore, Yuji's soul is on such a powerful level that he is actually able to affect Sukuna's soul directly, which, to put into perspective of how insane and powerful that actually is, Mahito, through his domain expansion at his absolute peak, could not affect Sukuna's soul, yet here is Yuji affecting it with his punches. Now, I'm not saying that Yuji's soul is anywhere near the strength of Sukuna's, or else if it was, he could have just done this in a few punches, not the several he's needed to land so far. All I'm saying is this: Yuji could probably walk through Mahito's domain and be fine. After all, when your soul has reached a certain level of strength, you're able to directly resist Mahito's touches. As we see, that is the reason why he can't affect Sukuna's soul at all, because Sukuna's soul is just way too strong for him to affect overall. But with Yuji's soul now being on such a different level where it could affect Sukuna's soul, something Mahito could not dream of doing, just speaks to the level of strength in Yuji's soul. Now, I've made entire videos about why these soul punches would be effective against other people, so I'm going to leave the link to that video up here and now. But effectively, to summarize that entire video, if you don't feel like watching that video, Yuji is able to punch people's souls directly out of their bodies. As Sukuna has directly stated before in the past, Yuji and his soul-seizing punches. He's effectively able to punch someone's soul out of their body with enough punches, even if he's not going directly through the barrier, as Sukuna implies that Yuji is trying to tear Sukuna's soul away from his body. Furthermore, we directly see that Yuji is capable of this, at least in some way, shape, or form, when he fights directly against Kusakabe and ends up swapping souls with him. However, Yuji directly tells himself to get a grip on it inside of Kusakabe's body, which at least implies to me that the swapping souls wasn't actually the intending effect, but the more so intending effect was actually sending a soul out of somebody's body. Furthermore, this was also heavily implied to be possible through the most recent chapter as well, as Angel directly ends up saying, however, if we're able to separate the two souls and weaken the synchronicity between the curse object and the body, the survival rate will skyrocket. Which is effectively implying that if in theory he could punch Sukuna enough, he could straight up push Sukuna's soul out of the body. But that's also implying Yuji could do this to other people as well. As like I said, he directly does this to Kusakabe, which is directly showing that this would work on other people as well. So furthermore, Yuji has access to incredible physical stats, down to such a point that he was able to clown on his previous self that was keeping up with Maki previously, which is absolutely insane. Extremely high levels of durability. Reverse curse technique, where even if you do manage to hurt him, he is able to heal himself right after, so he's not just fighting on pain anymore. He has access to blood manipulation, and we don't know everything he has access to with blood manipulation, but more and more is just going to show, as we know he does have access to range attacks now finally, with most of all his access to the ability to directly harm and affect the soul. Overall, Yuji has now become someone who is incredible, and in my opinion, for all of these reasons, I do believe he is special grade. For his ability to keep up with Rika in terms of physical combat, for his ability to use blood manipulation, for his ability to know everything that Yuki had written and perfectly utilize it from the soul book from his own experience as well. Yuji is overall someone who is incredibly strong at this point, with incredible speed and output overall. I do certainly think that he is now a special grade sorcerer. However, I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace out. Have a good day. Hey, you. Yeah, you. I'm here to hook you up with some really good anime merch and merch for comic book lovers. Now, do you love Jujutsu Kaisen, Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Marvel, DC, and all of the above, and do you have your own nerd stuff that you're into? Well, I got some good stuff for you today, as our friends at Fandominion are here to hook you up because they got the best merch. If you've been around here for a while, you'll know that they've been with our channel for a long time. So you can take it from me that they got good merch and they will hook you up with the highest quality merch. After all, I really recommend them. They got some really good merch, and I'm gonna hook you all up with something special. If you use the code TEF, really simple, really easy to remember, made it simple for all y'all, you get a 10% discount. Yeah, that's right, a 10% discount for all the merch you could possibly buy. And I guarantee you, you'll be happy with whatever you get. So, you guys make some money, I'll give you a discount, I make some money, we all get happy. Hope you all enjoy, and let's continue on with the rest of the video. Remember to check out Fandomian. Link in the description down below, as well as our code.